Jimmy Buffett, that's my Jimmy Buffett shirt.
You are now live.
Thank you very much, Kayla. Thank you for members of council that are here on our council meeting. And I know we have many members of our staff are with us as well. I do know that Councillor Lamers sent a message that he would not be joining us at this meeting tonight. So we will move forward with a quorum of our councillors that are here tonight with our meeting for Monday, July the 12th, 2021. And I hope that we are able to have a very efficient meeting here tonight. Members of council, we'll start with the agenda, which item number 1 is our closed session item. There are no items on our closed session as we did not have a closed session today. So I'll move to item number 2, which is our approval of the agenda. And I'll call for the recommendation, be it resolved that Council of the Township Fairview hereby approve the agenda dated July the 12th, 2021 as presented. Can I have a mover and seconder on the agenda? Mr. Deputy Mayor, Mr. Walker, are there any questions or anything added? Seeing none, I'll call the motion. All those in favor? Thank you. That motion carries. Council, disclosure, pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Is there any disclosures for tonight's council meeting? I don't see any, so thank you. If there's anything comes up, of course, we deal with it right away at that time, so please do so. Members of council, we have a public participation, item number 4. We did receive a letter later this morning. It was late this morning, but we did get it prior to the deadline for cutoff for submissions for our council meeting. Mr. Ken Solwell sent in a concerns, quite a good letter, in fact, in regards to concerns on the Sunnydale-Toss-Roneo town line. To be honest, a lot of his concerns, council, were related to speeding, the volume of traffic on that road. He did mention a couple of items in his questions that I have been very supportive, and I know you have all heard me speak about it, and that is lines painted on roads. So that's something that will be discussed. So Mr. Solwell, I cannot answer your question directly. I do appreciate your input. What I will do is I will forward it to our road authority, our Deputy Director of Public Works, as well as the Director of Public Works, and through the CAO. Perhaps they can come up with some either answers directly to your questions or communicate with you any of the plans that are in the works for the Sunnydale-Toss road. And I agree with you, it's a very busy road. We have a lot of very busy roads in our township, and traffic is a big concern. We all hear about it as we all observe it every day. So it's an ongoing pressing concern, and this council is dealing with that. So thank you very much for your submission, and I appreciate you sending it in. So members of council, we have deputations and presentations, which is item next, number 5. We have the Creemore baseball team, and I know through the clerk's office, do we have a delegation joining us here today, Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, Mark Dupuy from the Creemore baseball team. He's just joining the meeting right now. Mark, you can turn on your camera.
Oh, there he is. That's right. I see. Okay. Hello, Mark. Mr. Dupuy, can you hear me?
He's on mute.
Oh, I got you now.
There we go. Hello. Hello there, Mark. How you doing?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm
I've
well.
never done this. I'm on my phone right now, so I've never done this on my phone.
Oh, okay. Well, it seems to be working as long as you can hear us and we can hear you. You have a presentation you'd like to speak to us in regards to the Creemore baseball team and the request for waivers. I'll give you the floor. Go ahead, Mark.
Okay, correct. I just want to make sure. So originally on June 23rd, I also submitted a community grant application. This kind of stems back to our program having to drop the Indigenous logos from our team and then have to rebrand our team. So I'm not sure if that actually had gone in yet, but like I said, it was submitted on the 23rd. In addition to that, since it was so rushed, we had to purchase t-shirts. So we were asking for this season to have our diamond fees waived to help assist towards the t-shirts that we have to wear until our jerseys come.
I see. So you did submit a request. I believe the procedure is that we take that through the clerk's office to our committee. We have 2 members of our council. They're both here who are on that committee. Deputy Mayor Burton, Councillor Leishman. Deputy Mayor Burton, do you have a comment or have you reviewed this request?
Yes, we have reviewed the request and with Councillor Leishman, and I believe that we approved it, their request. I can't remember if we have brought it forward to council yet for approval.
All right. Thank you for that. Madam Clerk, do you have that request, that information?
Thank you, Your Worship. I believe Deputy Mayor Burton is speaking to a request from the Creemore Minor Baseball team that was dealt with back at the May 10th meeting. I would look to Mr. Dupuy just to check that that is the same organization, because one was submitted in May and you just submitted one back in June.
Okay, so there's some confusion here, Mark. I think you guys are talking about the senior team. Is that right, Mark?
That's the junior and senior team. That's correct.
Yeah. I think we gave some funding to the junior team, and I actually attended and dropped off a check with
No,
the
so
manager.
sorry, there's a difference there. The junior is 22 and under. It's typically 21 and under, but it's now 22 and under, much like the Siskins on the hockey side of things. What got assistance was minor baseball. Minor baseball only had to put a patch over top of their logos that were screened, but we had to actually replace all the jerseys full out because they were stitched. Our junior team, which I purchased jerseys last fall, get ready for this year, but we can't wear those jerseys underneath the new policy.
Right.
So I then had to reorder new jerseys again.
Right, Mark, I can now appreciate exactly what you're talking about, because there was a request from the Minor Baseball Association in Creemore. And I do.
I understand that.
Sir, okay, good. Deputy Mayor Burton wants to speak. Go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, so to Madam Clerk, come back here, Madam Clerk. So we have received the application, but Connie and I have not seen it yet. Is that correct?
Through Your Worship to you, Deputy Mayor Burton, that is correct. There was a little bit of confusion when Mark submitted his request. In his email, he had stated that he was looking for a waiver of diamond fees, which we know can't be dealt with through the community assistance grant. That has to be dealt with at council. But at that time, Mr. Dupuy, he did submit a community assistance grant. So that will be sent to you guys this week, and for a report to come to the July 26th council meeting.
Okay, great. So then what we're dealing with tonight then is strictly the waiver of the fees is what we're dealing with tonight. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
If I may, Your Worship, I would like to put forth a motion that we, I'll put forth the motion that we waive the fees for the junior and senior baseball teams.
All right. Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Councillor Leishman, are you seconding the motion?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. I see that because you got your yes card up. Thank you for that. Very good. Is there any discussion on the motion? Yes, Councillor Patterson's first. Go ahead.
Yeah, just to confirm, and I'll make a suggestion. Are we talking about the, and maybe Terry can confirm this, from our fee schedule, we're talking 307 and 223 for the season, total of just under 525. Are those the right numbers we're talking about?
No, the junior team also pays the same amount as the senior team. Same as there's no break for the Siskins for ice time. Junior hockey is still classified as men's, even though there's 18-year-olds playing, but that's besides the point.
All right, I tell you what, Mark, how about we hold on just a second here then? I support what Councillor Patterson's asking for. So I tell you what, maybe Mr. Vachon, are you online here today? Yes, there you are. Hello, Terry. Nice to see you. Do you have a value that that Mr. Dupuy would be talking about here that we can help clarify that with council before we move ahead with the discussion?
Absolutely. Thanks, Your Worship. And yeah, Mr. Dupuy is absolutely correct. Both the junior and the senior teams are presently playing $314 plus HST for the season. So 628 combined.
628 plus HST or whatever that is. So around that dollar value is what the number is. So Mr. Patterson, Councillor Patterson, is that sufficient information for you as to what the value is that we're talking about?
Yeah, it's close enough. I just went to our latest fee schedule for the diamond rentals for the season. So that's 628. A suggestion. I mean, I support both these requests, but the question is, why don't we just combine them into one community assistance grant? Do we have to have two different checks?
That's why the clerk explained it. I'll help you out here, Sasha. The request to waive the diamond fees must go to council directly. The request for community assistance grants can go to the committee. Committee can then recommend it and then bring it to council. So there's a bit of a procedural error or procedural steps that need to be done to make it correct and transparent for the public's understanding. Is that right, Sasha?
I understand the process, but in terms of Mark's request, he's just looking for the money to cover the costs. So I was suggesting that, whatever the total amount was could be looked after by the community assistance grant. And then if he had to pay his fees, then he pays them out of the community assistance grant. But either way, it
Fair
doesn't
enough.
matter.
All right, let's go to Sasha there. She'd like to speak. Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Councillor Patterson. I believe the waiver of the diamond fees can just be something that's done through the AP invoicing, where we invoice back showing that they were using the diamonds, but it becomes back as a zero amount and they just don't pay the fees for that. And then the community assistance grant would be done if council chooses to approve that through a check.
Whichever way it works. Whichever way. it
Great,
works.
thank you, Councillor. Let's move on. I saw Councillor McKechnie and then Councillor Walker. Doug, did you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Essentially, I just wanted to know how much we were looking at, and I figured it was going to be around $600, so that's fine. Also, just to make sure that we're not setting ourselves up for other groups to come and want their fees waived. Yeah, but in light of recent events, now more than ever, I think an excuse a pun here. I think that it's time for us as a council to step up to the plate and support the Creemore baseball teams. And yes, I would support waiving their diamond fees for 2021. Thanks.
All right, excellent. Thank you. Councillor Walker, do you have a comment or question?
Yes, Your Worship, I do. I am concerned with regards to waiving the diamond fees.
Okay.
We do have approximately 17 to 21 adult teams, 25 youth teams that use the ball diamonds. So we are setting ourselves up as a precedent for waiving diamond fees. The fees are used for the preparation of the diamonds, to help maintain the diamonds, to apply for the grant. That's a totally different ball. But as far as fees, because all of a sudden we can have all these other teams coming asking to have their fees waived. We've already reduced the fees for the youth only for this year in 21 because of COVID. And I feel that we're setting ourselves up as a precedent. Yes, it's a Creemore and it's a name change, but with that name change, there should have been a bank account from the previous team. There should have been some funds available. What do the ball players pay to play baseball? I mean, you have to have a business plan if you're going to survive. So I see that the waiving of the fees is not, to me, should not be allowed. We've got too many other teams that are hinging on this same thing as well.
All right, thank you for your comments, Councillor Walker. Is there anybody else with any questions or comments they'd like to put forward? I saw the Deputy Mayor with a card, just looking for anybody else. All right, Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
Thank you. I can appreciate the comments that Councillor McKechnie saying and Councillor Walker is concerned, but I think it's time we start investing money back into our own community. And as COVID is restrictions are being lifted and all the tough times that all our sporting groups have been through, I think it's time, as Councillor McKechnie, we step up to the plate and start investing money back into our sports areas. And if that's done by waiving, fees for various groups, then I'm prepared to do that. If they come and ask, then we'll deal with each one individually. But I think it's time to, do our best to invest to get life back to normal for all our sporting groups and our residents.
All right, thank you, Deputy Mayor. I do want to just state one thing about your comment there, Deputy Mayor, and that is that I believe everything we do invests in the township. Every dollar we spend invests in the operation of the township. So certainly this is an investment that the township can make, and council can direct that type of expenditure to be waived or to be absorbed through other means through our taxation services. So I understand what you're saying, Deputy Mayor, but I wouldn't want you to go away with a blanket statement saying that it's time we invest. No, we are investing every day in the work that we do here at the township. Nevertheless, anybody else? Councillor McKechnie, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, in response to the Deputy Mayor there, yeah, I'm in support of this, but I just want to make it clear that, like Councillor Roberts said, or Councillor Walker said, I don't want to see the doors opened up to all the other teams to come and requesting that we waive their fees. I think this is extenuating circumstances, and I think this is a one-off, and I think that we have to get behind this one case. But yes, definitely, I'm not in favor of if other teams come to us. No, I'm not in favor of waiving fees for them. So this is a one-off, it's extenuating circumstances. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'm going to give the gracious to Councillor Walker one more time, and then I'm going to call for it. Go ahead, Walker.
Well, Your Worship, I'm just going to say if we're going to waive fees here, but we're not going to waive fees for the next request, then we shouldn't start it at all. It's either that or waive them for everybody. Or if we're not going to recover fees to operate and keep things going, close them up then. We've got two choices. We construct our fees to keep things going, or we shut them down because we don't have any fees to operate. So we can't pick and choose who's going to be waived here. We either do them all or we don't do any.
All right, thank you, Councillor Walker. Anybody else with any further comments? All right, Madam Clerk, we have a motion which is moved and seconded. We've had a discussion. I'm just going to add that I understand what Councillor Walker is saying in regards to the other opportunities for fee reduction. But I just want to again point out that this is the procedure, that if someone wanted fee reduction, they need to bring it to council and they can be discussed one at a time. So Madam Clerk, I appreciate you putting this on the agenda and arranging for Mr. Dupuis to appear in front of us here tonight. All right, Council, I think we've had a good discussion. You've heard the motion. I'm prepared to call the motion. Those in favor? They're opposed? The motion will carry. Thank you very much. All right, so that motion carries. And just for clarification, Mr. Dupuis, Council will forward the request regarding the baseball grant funding regarding jerseys to our two committee members. So we may hear back from them at our next council meeting. Is that comfortable for you then, Mr. Dupuis?
That would be great. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, and you probably wouldn't need to appear at the next one, but we'll see how it goes. If there's any change, we'll call you. Okay. Okay, that'd be great. All right, members of council, thank you, Mr. Dupuis. Have a good afternoon or good evening. We'll see you later. So our Councillor Leishman, Deputy Mayor Burton, you'll get a chance to review that and bring a report back to council. All right. Thank you, everybody. All right. Council, item number 5.2 is kind of an exciting moment on our agenda. So Madam Clerk, before I read this, would you be able to call up our staff member, Kayla Reimer, to join us? Is she here? There she is.
She just appeared on screen.
Look at that. There's Kayla Reimer, everybody. We don't get a chance to see her very often at our council meetings, although she does participate in our council meetings quite a bit.
Anson, do you just want to give
yeah. Hang on a second here. There we go. Mark's all muted. There we go. So Kayla, I know you've been contributing a great deal to the township. You obviously are very familiar with many of our volunteer organizations because you appear at their meetings as their clerk of record and assist them with their committee members. But something that Kayla has been doing in her own time, as well as in some of her spare training time, she has been attending classes. And I received this in the mail, which is her diploma. So Kayla, congratulations. You've received your diploma in municipal administration, the AMCTO. So we want to congratulate and thank Kayla for all your work, and good for you, Kayla.
Thank you so much.
Right on. A bit of hard work there, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was just over 3 years to complete that, but some of the positives with COVID-19, we were able to condense a 2-year program into 4 months.
That's
so
great.
I was able to receive the municipal law course in 4 months.
Well, that's great. Then that's handy. Yes, Councillor Deany would like to say something. Go ahead, Councillor.
I think you omitted the with honors, Your
No,
Honor.
you're right. Sorry, excuse me. Details says with honors is hereby authorized to use the initials Diploma MA after your name. Congratulations, Kayla
Yes.
Raymond.
Thank you very much.
Well, congratulations. And Madam Clerk and to our CAO, it also speaks very well to our training opportunities that are available to all of our staff here at the township, that they can register and sign up for courses from AMCTO or other professional organizations. So I'm really glad that we continue that program. And I would hope that through your leadership as managers, you'll be able to continue to motivate staff to continue to take that opportunity. So thank you. Good job, Kayla. Right on. All right, members of council, we're moving on in our agenda to item 6, public meetings, which I don't think we have a public meeting tonight. Item 7 is approval of the minutes of our council meeting from June the 28th. So recommendation, be it resolved, the council of the township of Clearview hereby approve the minutes of the June 28, 2021 council meeting as presented. Can I have a mover and seconder on the motion? Where are we at? Broderick and Deneen, thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, I'll call the motion. All those in favor? And that carries. The minutes are approved. Any business arising from the minutes, if any? Business arising? Nothing? Councillor Leishman, you're okay? All right, good. Members of council, communications from the mayor. We have no closed session today. Item number 9.2 is the NVCA June 2021 board meeting highlights. And then item number 9.3 is the notification of a telecommunications tower, which is at 879 6th Street, actually located in the town of Collingwood, but because we're within their jurisdiction of influence for that tower, we're being notified. So how about that? Any questions on any of these two items? Anybody like to bring up? Seeing none. All right, council. Recommendation be it resolved that council of the township of Clearview hereby receive the communications from the mayor for information. Mover and seconder, please. Mr. Broderick, Councillor Walker. All those in favor? That carries. Thank you. Item number 10 is our county reports for information. Deputy Mayor Burton, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Not really. It's there is no meeting now. The only thing I would like to comment on is that I've received numerous emails, and I thank all those who forwarded their emails in regards to speeding and the truck traffic and all that on County Road 9. And then the other thing is the garbage containers. We've had many emails about the size of the new garbage containers. You know, the reality is, council had to pick a size to work with which suited the average household. We're going to be reviewing it in 2022. So if there is a need to maybe go to smaller units for some of the condos, we will review that. Not saying it'll happen, but we will review that. There is a test project being done down in New Tecumseh for one particular condo, and it is a test project, and so those ultimate sizes are not available at this date.
All right, thank you for that. I also have received many emails in regards to the topic of the automated cart collection system for waste management. And I concur with what the deputy mayor says, that council has made this decision. It's a difficult one at county council. To be frank, garbage and waste management is the #1 topic at county council. At every meeting, it consumes a great deal of time, great deal of discussion. And we're speaking to some of the staff at the county who work in the county office. It continues to be a big issue for them every day too. So it's an ongoing concern. We're doing what we need to do to continue to provide the proper waste management services across the county. So if you're interested in seeing the bins, since the township office is now open 3 days a week, you can drop into the administration center and you can see them. They're actually located right here just outside of the office of the mayor. And you can observe the bins. You can kind of roll them around a little bit, get an idea for them, even measure them out if you want to bring your tape measure and see where it might fit at your property. So it's there's some examples of them here. I can advise members of council, and particularly Councillor Walker, the residents of Huron Meadows twice have visited and taken a look at these bins. And I had them out here in the plaza in front of the town hall to have a look at them as well. And they've got some concerns about them too. As you can appreciate, their facility has some pretty small garages and space for that type of thing. So anyhow, they're available here for people to look at. Again, that's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at this time from 10 until 2. You can come into the township office and you can look at the bins and you can get a feel for what they're all about. All right, council, I guess there's nothing further on the county report at this time. So we'll move around the table here to our ward reports. So let's start on the ward reports with Councillor McKechnie and then Councillor Patterson. Doug McKechnie, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. You caught me off guard there. I'm never the first one. So, you know what? Everything's going just great in Ward 2. I'm gonna pass. I have nothing to report. Everything's going along just great. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McKechnie. It's good to hear. Councillor Patterson, you're next, and then Councillor Leishman. Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been fielding a lot of comments about County Road 9, and I've actually asked some of them. I've talked to some and written to some that they make sure that they include the county on those requests, the traffic situation, and also that it will become part of a discussion that we have with regards to the comprehensive traffic management system. So, and I also I just add a note to the county report from the deputy mayor and the mayor. There is a open house.
Yes.
Coming up. Is it the 26th of July from 6 to 7? I'm going from memory here.
I'm going to look it up while you're talking.
I was trying to find it myself. So
yeah, no problem.
Yes, it's going to be an interesting discussion. I calculated the floor area of those things. It happens to be 2/3 of my smart car. So just in case people want a visual, not on volume, but in garage floor area. So for some of us, if you can put the smart car in, save some space on your bigger car, you can put the garbage collection boxes in fairly easily. But if you got an ATV and a normal size SUV, I think you're going to get a lot of questions about maybe outside storage. So hopefully we have a lot enough time for those inputs. I think that's about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's about it for now.
Yes, Tom, just on that point, I looked it up. On my calendar, I show it as the 27th, which is a Tuesday from 9 until noon. That's what's coming up on my calendar.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's it. But that may or may not be the right one, but that's what I've got on my calendar.
Okay, good. So for the public to take note. Then
for sure. I'm sure we can find the information on simco.ca.
Maybe we could put a button on our front page.
Good idea. We'll have a conversation with our communications group. Good job. Okay, thank you, Tom. Everything all good?
Good.
Okay, thank you. Connie Leishman, Councillor Leishman, you're next, and then Phyllis Deneen. Go ahead, Connie.
Thank you. Not much to report. I've been to several, as Phyllis has too, housing presentations. It still amazes me actually how many developers are getting into attainable and affordable housing. It's really encouraging, and they're all different and they all have different ideas and what they should be doing. In fact, we had a presentation from that fella I told you about that made houses out of containers. Yeah. And they actually looked really good. So it was pretty cool. They put it all together in a factory and then they bring it by a crane and put it together. And when you don't want it anymore, they take it apart. So I'm okay with that. That was all right. I like that. Went to the Stainer Market opening, of course. Never missed the Stainer Market, or I did last Thursday because it rained and I thought we weren't going to have one, and then we did, and I found out the next day, and oh, I felt so bad. But oh well, missed my butter mother lady. Oh well, had my second shot. Yay! As my husband calls it, our freedom shot. So in another week or so, I'll be fully immunized and I can go out and dance. Okay, we're okay. So have a great day, girls and boys. Bye.
Thank you, Councillor Leishman. Congratulations and thank you for that. Councillor Deneen is next, and then we will go to the deputy mayor. Go ahead, Phyllis.
Well, Connie kind of stole my thunder there. And just the housing subcommittee, and it's been kind of interesting. We did a survey of the agencies and different things, and we got the report back from that. It's nothing we weren't aware of, but we now have it actually on paper and documented. So we've got something to work with, maybe, kind of, sort of, yeah. They're still wishing for higher tiered government to step in and help us out a bit. I think everybody in the ward is just enjoying their holidays, so I haven't got anything much to report there either. And Doug, the garbage got collected on our side street here today, so it's gone now. You don't have to worry about that. And thanks, everybody. That's it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Deneen. I see the deputy mayor has disappeared from my screen, so we'll skip, and we're going to go over to Councillor Walker and then Broderick. Oh, no, Barry, you're back. Hang on. Are you ready to give a report, Barry?
Yeah, I have basically nothing else to report on other than what I've already said. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Fine looking shirt you're wearing tonight too, by the way. Councillor Walker, you're next, and then Councillor Broderick.
Thank you, Your Worship. I don't have a whole lot other than to the staff and the vendors to Stayner's First Market night. Thank you. It was a great night, the first night. Unfortunately, last Thursday, Mother Nature decided that she was going to rule again, and there was a few vendors there, not many, but those who were there tried their best, and there was a few people wandering around. So hopefully this Thursday night, Mother Nature will shine on us again and allow us to move forward. I think it was a great night. And again, thanks staff and the vendors for being there. We're much appreciated.
Excellent point. Thank you, Councillor Walker. I appreciate that. And I hope that the weather continues to shine on Thursdays and Saturdays for our farmers markets in our community. Councillor Broderick, you're next.
Thank you, Your Worship. July 1st, attended the official opening of the Stayner Market with Mayor Measures and Councillors Leishman, Walker, and McKechnie. It was nice to see the market open up again and people out enjoying the beautiful weather we had that night. I'd like to also thank Fire Chief Rory Payment and Clearview staff, and a shout out to Graham and Jessica for setting up the COVID vaccination clinic at the Stayner Arena coming up on July 17th from 9:30 to 3:30. Wanted to say I've had both my shots and I encourage everybody to get theirs. As Connie said, that's our freedom shots. That's it for me. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for that, Councillor Broderick, because that leads me into a little PSA that I need to deliver. I also want to acknowledge that Rory Payment, who people perhaps don't understand, or maybe they do, but they don't appreciate what the role is. Chief Payment is, yes, he's our fire chief, but he's also our community emergency management coordinator. And during this entire COVID activity, Chief Payment, his role has been to be operating on behalf of the community as the emergency management coordinator. And so he chairs our emergency management meetings, and he's been doing a great job with that, along with the CAO. And so I just want you to know that that's the role that he does. One of the things he did do was consult with the Simcoe County Muskoka District Health Unit in regards to a vaccine clinic coming to our community. And that was as a result of our vaccine levels across Clearview being a little bit lower than some of our neighbors. I don't have the most recent numbers, but let's just say we're in and around the 54% of our residents have had their first vaccine. And that's a little bit lower, significantly lower than other neighboring municipalities. So there is a clinic, a plan for Saturday, July the 17th between 9:30 and 3:30 p.m. It'll be at the Stayner Arena, which, as we all know, is on Regina Street, beautiful Stayner Arena. So the interesting thing about this vaccine clinic, according to their website, is that this will be no appointments necessary. It's a walk-in only clinic. So Simcoe Muskoka residents from far and wide across Simcoe and Muskoka can get their shots at this clinic. but it is being held here specifically because we are low on our intake of persons getting their first vaccine and then also getting their second. This clinic apparently is going to be available for people who need their first dose and their second dose. And of course, the eligibility of getting your second dose has to be a minimum of 28 days between doses. So they encourage you to bring your health card, any list of any medications you're taking if necessary. And also please dress for the weather, as you may be required to wait outdoors before you're entering the clinic, which does make sense. So I want to acknowledge that our staff at the Recreation Department will be doing everything they can to assist to make sure that the facility is up and running efficiently and safely, and has obviously tables and chairs and lighting and et cetera, that anything that the Simcoe Muskoka Health needs. And so I would encourage people to consider this. And as Councillor Leishman said, it's a freedom shot. So let's make sure we all get it so that we can fight this COVID-19 virus. So I want to thank you for that, Councillor Broderick, for bringing that up. And I just wanted to share that information. Council, for one last thing I have as a report too in regards to this this section of our agenda, I just want to do a little update. Our land acknowledgement for our Indigenous community work, it does continue. The clerk and Kayla Reimer, who you met a minute ago, the clerk and Kayla are working on a report to council. I have also been working on this information with them. I believe what we will be doing is we will prepare a report to council that will then ask council to request a workshop, which will be held at a later date, perhaps later in the summer, perhaps in the early fall, where we will then have a full understanding about what this is. And as you know, perhaps you've heard in a couple of council meetings, I've explained a little bit of the uniqueness of our land acknowledgement here in Clearview, which has to do with the Petun peoples and how they are not recognized or not part of any treaty, and yet it is the ancestral home here in our township for the Petun people. So I wanted to let you know that we're still working on that. I do have some written words here of a land acknowledgement, and I haven't been able to really prepare them in such a way that I feel that it's going to be accurate. So I'm not going to be going with that tonight, but I do want to acknowledge that we are working on this, and we do want to recognize the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples across Canada who continue to recognize them as the stewards of the lands across our whole nation. So we're working on it. It's coming, and I know it's going to be a very well thought out piece of a report that's going to come to council's attention. So, any questions on that? That's our procedure. Okay, and one further little announcement, I guess, for all members of council. We are still working on preparing the date for our traffic study meeting. I would like to give an FYI to all members of council. I've not received direct emails from any of you regarding this, although I do know that there are some members of council communicating with our staff. If you recall, I asked asked during the meeting that you would email me and the clerk so that we, the clerk and the mayor, can prepare this meeting. And I've not had any direct communications with any of you by email on this. So if you have any roads that you want to discuss, I would encourage you to please include me in your emails. Although I do have a list of them. Yes, I know, Councillor McKechnie, I know you and I have talked several of them, and we have some that are the previous ones. But you know, I've just since I announced that 2 meetings ago, I have not had any direct emails on that. So I just wanted to share that with you. Yes, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I would just like to announce to council that we would really like them to fill out those charts that we sent out by email last week. And you can CC the mayor on those charts. It'll just be easier for us to send the information to Public Works and to RJ Burnsides for the report.
Perfect. Thank you. Yes, go ahead, Doug.
Thank you, Your Worship. So yes, I didn't realize that you wanted us to send you information right now. I was just going to wait until I had that chart filled out, and I think Sasha had mentioned to have that done by July the 21st. I'm in the process of doing it now. But I was wondering, can a video be attached to those charts? I was just wondering if the clerk could answer this. Is there any way that we can attach a video or a picture?
Interesting question.
Through your worship to you, Councillor McKechnie, if you want to include pictures with your charts, we can add that as additional comments. Just note that those charts do form part of the public record. So any information that you share with them is something that could be in the council report and the public could see.
Okay, thank you. Thanks. I'll get on that this week.
All right, guys. We're just trying to put the meeting together. So as long as we get all the information, then we'll do that and we'll be able to move ahead. Thank you, everybody. All right, council, we're going to move on to item number 12. Unless there's anything further you'd like to bring up, you're all good? Okay, item number 12, Public Works. This is the purchase of a replacement transit bus. I believe Mr. Perot is there. Hello, Dan, nice to see you. So I know we're purchasing a replacement bus. I can't believe it's been since 2017. That's that other bus. Okay, let me read this. I'll get a mover in a second, then we can have a quick report. Recommendation be resolved that Council of the Township of Fairview hereby one, receive report PW 028-2021 purchase of a new replacement transit bus dated July 12, 2021. And item 2, approve the purchase of a new 2021 Elkhart Coach EC2 from Overland Custom Coach Inc. for the amount of $115,499.37, which includes HST, in accordance with Part 13, Part 13S 32 of the Township Procurement Bylaw number 1720. And that's a complicated motion. Thank you very much for that, Madam Clerk. Can I have a mover and seconder on this motion? Where are we at? Burton and Broderick. Deputy Mayor Burton, Councillor Broderick. Hello, Mr. Perot. It's exciting. We're getting a new bus, maybe.
Good evening, Your Worship. Yeah, it has recently been brought to my attention that over the winter and early this spring that our bus is got many kilometers on it and is requiring more additional maintenance than it has in the past. And you know, the 5-6 year mark is typically when a bus is replaced. And I became aware that Sega Beach was doing a tender for replacement of one of their buses, and in accordance with our procurement bylaw, we've done a cooperative bid with them, and they permitted us, if council agrees, to purchase a bus that matches or is similar to Sega Beach's bus.
Excellent. Before I go to questions, I have one quick question. If we purchase this bus, our current bus, would it remain ours and still in service as a reserve or a spare, or is it going to be disposed of?
Through Your Worship, that's the plan. If you've noticed that bus currently isn't running the route the last couple of weeks, so it is in for some repairs. Nothing too major, I don't think, but those repairs will keep it going until we receive the new bus, and that bus could become a spare bus or an additional route bus, depending on what council's directions are.
Okay. All right, but at some time we'll have to retire it because it's obviously getting the miles and getting the expenses. So, all right, thank you for that. Is there any questions to Mr. Perot as I jumped ahead of everybody else? Councillor Leishman and then Councillor Walker. Go ahead, Connie.
Yes, thank you. Dan, how bad is that bus? I mean, is it worth sort of reselling or not when we get the new one?
Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
I could talk to our transit operator that they're better versed at what the condition of that bus is currently, but it may have some value potential. But
well, I'm just thinking that a bus that's brand new, 2021, I doubt it's going to break down anytime soon. And using the old bus, even if we kept it in storage, by the time, if we ever needed it, it might not actually be running by then. So anyway, I just thought it might be an idea to just sort of sell it, and maybe somebody else could use it. The other thing I was going to ask is, I'm pretty sure 2021 is going to be very energy efficient, but I'm wondering if any thought has been given to electric.
Mr. Perot, good question.
Thank you, Your Worship, to Councillor Leishman. Not for this particular bus, because again, it was purchased or I call it piggybacking, but it's a cooperative bid with Wasaga Beach, and what they've spec'd out is the current bus, or the bus that's before you today. But there are always technologies changing every day, and I suspect that perhaps by the time this bus, if council does choose to purchase it, that electric availability will be, technology will be even better in 5 or 6 years from now.
Yes, I think it'll probably be a little less expensive than it is right now when our new, the new bus does finally give up. But it might be a thought anyway, just since we have a charger in town, why not use it? Anyway, thank you. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you very much, Councillor Leishman. Councillor Walker, you're next. Is there anybody else? All right, Councillor Walker, go ahead, Bob.
Thank you, Your Worship. A couple questions have already been answered. The only other one I had, Dan, what are we looking at for a turnaround if this goes through tonight? What are we looking at for time frame for new?
Dan?
Thank you, Your Worship, to Councillor Walker. Yeah, fortunately, the bus supplier, the Overland, has secured the chassis for this, which is a great bonus, knowing the issues that the automobile industry are having right now. So it would be just the build of the box in the passenger area. So we've been told 90 to 120 days. Could be a little bit longer depending on materials and whatnot, but between 90 and 120 days.
Excellent. Mr. Walker, anything further?
Just then, once received, if we go forward tonight, then we'd have to have it logoed, et cetera, as well. So, but that's still a good time frame for that. So that's good. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, any other members of council? Okay, Dan, you got anything further you want to add?
No, Your Worship.
All right, thank you very much. Members of council, I don't have any further questions. So is there anything, any objection? We'll move ahead. All right, we've got a mover and seconder on the motion. I'll call the motion. All those in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Perot, for that. Look forward to seeing it here in a few weeks' time. All right, council. Parks, Culture, and Recreation, PCR 015. Mr. Vachon's joined us again. Recommendation, be it resolved, Council of the Township of Clearview hereby one. Receive PCR 015 2021 updated Parks, Culture, Recreation user fees report for information. Item 2, amend bylaw 17110, which is the fees and charges bylaw, to include the revised user fees for Parks, Recreation, and Culture under Schedule J. I have a mover and seconder on the motion. Mr. Walker, Mr. Broderick, thank you. Hello, Mr. Vachon again. Let's see, do you have anything you'd like to add to the report?
Sure, thank you, Your Worship. Yes, just one point of clarification. As council knows, we brought the report back to council in April of 2021. Council asked that we tabled it for approximately 6 weeks. The only change that we made, Your Worship, to the schedule was we kept a 0% increase for all the pool fees for 2021. It's the only change that's different from our April report.
Okay. Members of council, any questions to Mr. Vachon? Go ahead, Mr. Patterson.
I didn't have a issue with the report itself until Terry answered the question during Mark Dupuis presentation. So remember, he was looking for, let me just ask the question anyways. The Ball Diamond soccer fields, Diamond No Lights adult team session 314. So I understood that. But then there is the one with No Lights youth team session. So are you saying that both of the requests from Mark Dupuis were in this category of adult team?
Yes.
Okay.
Your Worship, yes, Council President, that is correct. Yeah. So when Mr. Dupuis says junior, we all kind of get a little, thinking that's junior like small people, but it's actually juniors like junior hockey. It's just that age group. But yeah, they are part of that same category.
Okay, so the youth would be the minor.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Might be helpful. Well, I guess it doesn't matter because there's a few names they toss around here, but who would qualify as youth, like independent or like are there leagues that use those terms, youth?
Yes, through your worship, if that's it's okay, yeah. To Councillor Patterson, yes, a lot of them, the word that's commonly used more is minor, like minor baseball, minor hockey. Some of them still use the word youth, but typically it's 18 and under. That's usually the number that people use.
All right, that's good. You clarified my question. Thanks.
Terry, maybe I can just jump in on that point. Many organizations in sport use the term you, as in you under 18 or you under 12 or you. And so I guess the nomenclature here when we're doing our fee bylaw and the discussion from Mr. Dupuis, I mean, there's obviously a little disconnect there. So I can appreciate what Councillor Patterson's saying. So I don't know if there's any way to clarify that in the future whenever we rewrite these reports, just to bring that understanding in there. A U21 would be a youth category. Does that make sense?
Yes, for sure, your worship. Yeah, that is a new term. It's mainly being used in hockey at the moment. Baseball haven't. Well, they have. I guess they're all slowly getting to that U number. So yeah, perhaps our fees can represent that same same schematic in the future for sure.
For sure. Okay, something to think about. All right. Anybody else with any questions for the discussion on the fees? All right. Thank you, Council. Thank you, Council, and thank you, Terry Vachon, our Director, for bringing this forward. Members of Council, I've got a mover and second around the floor. I'm prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? And that carries. Thank you. All right. Council, thank you very much, Terry, for joining us. All right, Mr. CAO, this is a piece of work that's been going on since before you, and it's also a piece of work that's been going on since before our clerk that we have right now. So I just want to acknowledge that the work that went into this particular report that we're receiving right now came from our previous clerk and direction from our previous CAO. So thank you to them, and also thank you to our current clerk for bringing this full report to us for this decision tonight. Members of Council, I'm going to read the motion. It does ask for an option 1 and option 2. So I expect we will have a debate on that. And so before I read the motion, I had a discussion with the clerk that the procedure should be that we read the motion, look for a mover and seconder, and then we'll have a debate on what the resultant option we choose. We'll then affirm with the mover and seconder, and then we will move ahead with the vote. So just understand procedurally, that's what we're going to do. So, members of Council, I'm going to read the entire motion, then I'll look for a mover and seconder for discussion. All right, I guess I better get the second page because it also has part of the motion on it. Thank you very much. All right, here we go. LS 007-2021, Ward Boundary Review, Ward Structure Decision. Recommendation be it resolved, the Council of the Township of Clearview hereby 1, receive report LS 007-2021. It's the Ward Boundary Review, Ward Structure Decision, dated July 12, 2021. And option number 1, which is that Council approve redividing the Township of Clearview into 5 wards as outlined in Schedule B to this report and identified as options 5A in the 2013 Watson and Associates Electoral Review Report, and that the clerk be directed to present a bylaw to redivide the wards in or of the municipality. Or option 2, that Council approve remaining with the current 7-ward structure that was approved under bylaw 13-64 with no revision of ward boundaries. Again, as I explained, I need a mover and seconder, and then we'll have debate. Mover and seconder, Burton and McKechnie. Councillor or Deputy Mayor Burton and Councillor McKechnie.
Sorry, Your Worship, but I believe the mover has to include an option, so I'm moving option 1.
No, Barry, that's what I just explained at the start of this discussion. I'm moving the entire package, and then we're going to have a debate on item 1 or 2, and then we'll decide by motion 1 or 2, and then we're going to affirm with the mover and seconder whether they're okay with the continuing. Otherwise, we'll look for a new mover and seconder on the now new amended motion. Make sense?
All due respect, it doesn't make sense to me because the motion is.
Madam Clerk, could you explain for me?
Thank you, Your Worship. For you, Deputy Mayor Burton, there's 2 ways to deal with option reports, and this is one of the ways that you can. So what we're doing is we're getting a mover and a seconder to bring the report and the motion to the table. And then once council's had a fulsome debate, then we can move back to the mover and the seconder and just reaffirm that they're okay with the option that's being chosen, or they get to choose an option and move from there.
All right.
I will take the advice of the clerk.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. All right, guys. Madam Clerk, would you like to speak to your report? And then we'll open the floor for debate on option 1 and 2.
Thank you, Your Worship. So as you mentioned earlier, this is a culmination of the previous clerk's work and members of the clerk's department. The whole department's been involved in this process, and council and the public have been engaged. My report pretty much outlines everything that's been captured in previous reports, and specifically the public meeting that we had on June 28th. We just go into each of the 2 options more in depth and in relation to the Watson 6 guiding principles that they had in their report from 2013. And then we analyze each of those different choices for council, and then provide further information about how the ward boundary review started.
All right, thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Is there any questions to the clerk just on her report before we discuss any options? Anybody with any questions? Okay. Yes, Councillor Patterson, go ahead.
I delayed a bit, but maybe I'll get it up now.
Sure.
We can debate the wording, just that the wording in option, the option 1, which describes what the change is. We'll have an opportunity, if that one is chosen, to make some fine point adjustments. Like, are we including, for example, are we including the whole street? Are we going down the center of the street? In my case, there's a slight wording change that would have to be made to be completely accurate when it says, for example, moving all of Ward 5 into what now becomes Ward 2. That's not actually correct because it used to go up to 15, 16, now goes to 12. And so there would be people that were listening to this, or as we go forward, there's about 30 or 40 homes in that little area that we'd have to discuss where they actually fit now, just because of the way the drawings were done. So as long as there's an understanding there as we go forward, not to encumber the debate about 5 and 7, I'm okay.
Okay, so I'll tell you what, Councillor, it would be my understanding that this procedure will then bring a report back to council, which is a very small report saying pass the bylaw. The bylaw will then have the new information in it. We can amend the bylaw at that time. Madam Clerk, is that correct?
Thank you, Your Worship. That's correct. And what Councillor Patterson is referring to is just my overall review of the changes. But in our actual recommendation resolution that's before council, we speak to the actual map that we're referring to, which is Schedule B for option 5 wards. And then that also refers back to the Watson report as option 5A. So Mayor Measures is correct. There will be a bylaw, if that's chosen from tonight, come back to council. And with that bylaw, we'll be working with our solicitor to just make sure that we have the proper pinning of the points for the lots and everything. For the most part, option 5 does follow our road allowances and roads, except for a portion kind of in the Singhampton Ward 2 area. There is a little bit of deviation from County Road 124 there.
Councillor Patterson, go ahead.
Just so the thought isn't lost, it actually moves, it affects 2 wards, the what I talked about. 5 goes down from 15 to 16, from 15, 16 to 12, 13. And Ward 4, Stayner, the bottom half of Stayner, actually goes not only east-west, but also south. It picks up the 15, 16 to 13 area. And it's kind of a smaller point, but it is about 30 or 40 homes. So we should sort it out.
Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
And that's correct. Through you, Your Worship, to Councillor Patterson, our lawyers would be doing a fulsome review of that map, and we would ensure that we follow exactly what the map states and include those homes that are on those areas that you're specifying tonight. My general overview is just to kind of people to give an ease of reference of what would be changing. It was by no means meant to be completely accurate, just to kind of give a full view of how the wards would be diminished down to 5 from 7.
Okay. Thanks for that clarification.
All right, guys. Any further questions of the clerk's report? Any further questions of the content of the report? And then we'll go to the debate of 1 or 2. All right, I'm not seeing any, so I'm going to move on. Council, at this time, council needs to make a decision on items option 1 or option 2. So at this time, I need a mover and seconder. Yes, go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Sorry, I thought you were asking for one of us to make, so I was prepared to put forward option 1.
So Deputy Mayor Burton is putting forward option number 1 as a mover. Can I have a seconder? Is that Councillor Patterson? Councillor Patterson is the seconder. All right. I would like to ask, is there any debate or any comments, questions people need to discuss in regards to option number 1 as the amended now potentially approved motion? Any members of council with any questions on this? Okay, Councillor Deneen and then Councillor McKechnie. Go ahead, Phyllis.
We did our survey and it was almost evenly divided. So it wasn't clearly defined a choice one way or another by our public. And the people that I have spoken to have expressed that they would like to keep the existing council structure. They're asking for it for the sake of diversity. And they don't want it reduced because we will be getting to be a bigger area. And they didn't feel that they would get proper representation. And during our public meeting, we had only heard from those that were in opposition of this. The majority of the other people that didn't answer that I have spoken to just figured that things would stay status quo. And some of those people that we heard from within a group, some of them don't even live within our municipality. They're from neighboring municipalities and really don't have any bearing on our council and its makeup. I definitely appreciate all the work and time the staff have taken with the review. It just means that we'd be ready to go when and if we are actually mandated to do so. And I would like to go for option 2.
I appreciate that. I'm just going to hold my comments. As Councillor McKechnie, you've got your card up. Did you have a comment?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, so I wrote a couple of notes down today. So the results of the surveys and the letters we received, as Councillor Deneen mentioned, they indicates a fairly even split amongst the community. And however, you know, I think we're elected to make decisions, and certainly no matter what we decide today, there will be some people in the community that are not happy. And after sitting at this council table for the past 3 years, I'm of the opinion that a 9-member council is too large for effective and focused decision-making. A large council lacks clearly articulated strategic priorities, and a large council has a weak and ineffective voice when communicating these priorities. On the other hand, a smaller council can have greater influence on the issues, and a smaller council can have a clear and stronger set of priorities and can better communicate those priorities and positions. So when I think about those items, I would support option number 1, a smaller council, the 7-member 5-ward council. So that's what I support.
Is there any further commentary? That's yes, Councillor Walker. I'm looking for all members actually to give us their commentary. So Councillor Walker, you're next. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple of quick questions. What is council's direction moving forward with regards to council reps sitting on committees? Right now, we have about 20 some committees. So with 7 council members, you've got 3 committees apiece. Average. Okay, average. If you go to 5, you're going to have about 4 or 5. And over the past few years, it's been tried to be equally split, but we know that's never worked. We've had some do 4 and 5 and some do 1 committee. So if you're going to go to 5, then whatever we set up for committees, if we're going to sit on committees, then it should be evenly distributed and maintained for the workload of the counselors. Because if you're going to end up on 4 or 5 committees, plus your council, you're going to be very busy, plus your daily life, which is out in the public, talking and chatting and helping to diffuse and helping to help people move forward in a proper direction. So I have a concern with going that route. Clearview Councillor, there's comments being made about smaller is better. We have a better representation and maybe the people will be better for Clearview. As a councillor that's been on for the length of time I have, yes, I was elected in a ward, but my decisions were based on what is best for Clearview, whether it's in my ward or in another ward. And all council should be making that decision. What is best for Clearview? It's not about our wards. It's about Clearview. And that's the whole issue we need to deal with. And the other thing is, I have been a little bit upset with some of the comments made by the public with regards to council being acclaimed. If you look at the history of all kinds of management, there's people have been acclaimed in every aspect of life. Boards of management, service clubs, council, provincial, federal, being involved in 11 campaigns, I was only acclaimed once. That's just last time. So people that are using that acclaim thing, I'm sorry, but back off. You don't know what you're talking about. So I am looking at staying as 7. I feel that the need for the workload on council needs to be distributed evenly and maintained evenly, unless we're planning on doing something totally different in the new term.
All right, thank you, Councillor Walker. Appreciate your comments. Councillor Leishman, you're next, and then I guess I'll go to Councillor Broderick. Councillor Leishman?
Okay, thank you. Well, this is pretty much occupied my mind for the last 2 weeks. But well, hell, the last 2 weeks, how about the last 2 years? Okay, yeah, I was not in favor of 5 wards when we started this process. I was still in favor of status quo. The fact that we didn't get a lot of people commenting to us kind of said that either they don't care, or they just want to keep it the same. But at the same time, I'm going to look at it from my perspective. And my perspective is that I think we should have always been a 5-ward council. I didn't like the way the 7 wards were configured. It didn't make much sense to me geographically. I think the option 5A makes sense to me geographically. I think being a councillor that's in 6, I looked at all of the township as it was anyway. So the way it's configured, I like it. I think the representation is very balanced and equal, and it's not at the moment. I don't have as many people as everybody else, but I've got a huge geography. So I'd like to see that fixed. And I think 5A is the best option right now. I do believe the province was asking us to pull back and look at ways to pare down. And I think this is a way to go. So I'm going to go with option 1, 5A, because that to me makes sense. I hope we don't go to LPAT over this, because honestly, if you didn't get in touch with us and tell us, then we're going by what we've been told by other people, by letters and phone calls. And if you have an objection, you should have spoke up. So, anyway, that's it. As if council goes this direction. Anyway, that would be my choice. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Leishman. I appreciate your comments. Councillor Broderick, I'm going to go to you next, and then perhaps back to the Deputy Mayor. John?
Thank you, Your Worship. A lot of good points. I am going to support the option 5A primarily because I think the 5 wards does a better job of a more even representation by population. Other municipalities larger than us are operating in such a matter. I do agree, though, and I am concerned about the extra workload that certainly is going to be a factor. But I will support option 1.
All right, thank you for your comments, Councillor. The Deputy Mayor and/or Councillor Patterson, on this discussion of option 1, do you have any comments you'd like to bring forward?
I think they've put most of the comments. Thank you, Your Worship. And I think most of the comments have been said that I would say. I think if, a 5 ward system makes more sense. Many of our neighboring municipalities that a bigger population are operating under 5 wards or smaller. I think it just makes sense. And yes, we're all going to have to work a little harder and maybe on these committees and stuff, but I think a smaller council can be more effective, and I think in line with what others have said.
Thank you very much, Councillor Patterson. Would you like to have any comments specifically on the decision for Ward 1, or sorry, for option 1?
Yeah, I've been thinking of reforming council for some time, as some of you in council know. And even in 2013, I thought we could have redone what we were planning to do now. I don't think it affects our effectiveness. More people to talk to, a fixed population. You can sort of draw a line and say it might be beneficial if we were bigger. But I also would say you could make that a similar argument about at large. But I think the way we are right now, despite all our interests in making sure that everyone around us understands that Clearview is the town and is the municipality, and it's made up of several settlement areas that hold strong identity to their own town. So I think we've always sort of been respectful of that tug and pull between the township itself and the settlement areas. I think we've done a good job there. So I'm not too concerned about the effectiveness. I do think the rural vote's been diluted to some extent when you have more wards and you tend to concentrate on the interests of the people that are urbanizing, that sort of thing. So I think there's some advantage of having a better representation for the rural areas. And I didn't make my decision with regards to the RGR and the regional governmental review or the push from our province, because we know better how to govern than the province. And I think we're just collateral damage, if you like, in any decisions that Toronto makes on how we manage our municipality. So good for us for making the decision independent of the RGR outcome, and let the county sort that out. And then I think we're in good position to handle anything that comes down from the province. So I support 5, obviously, and I look forward to it. I think we could too, probably a little bit better, but right now I think it's a good step.
Great, thank you very much, Councillor Patterson. Thank you all members of council for bringing forward your opinions. I appreciate all of you. I'm going to give you a couple of thoughts that I have on this. Certainly, I have been on council since 2006. I joined this council at the same time as Councillor Patterson, and we were fortunate enough to work with a long group of councillors and mayors and deputy mayors that have served. Councillor Walker certainly has a long history here, and so understands and appreciates the changes that have come about across how we operate this township and how we have come together as one township. So It's been my experience that some of the best decisions that are being made by council have three parts. The first part, as a councillor, mayor, or deputy mayor, is when you make a decision, you have to look at the strategic direction of what this community is doing, what we're going, what's the plan that we have as a community that makes us move forward. We do that. Basically, every term we review our strategic plan. And in our strategic plan, there is an item in there about good governance, providing good governance. Certainly last term of council, under Mayor Vandercruz, we did a review of our committee work, and that was part of the good governance model we provide on how we do committees, what committees we do, what levels of committees we do. The previous council to that Councillor Patterson mentioned, with Mayor Ferguson's council, a second term council, we had a discussion about a ward boundary review. This discussion point came up at that point as well, whether we would go from 7 councillors to 5 councillors, mayor and deputy mayor. If you recall, Councillor Patterson and Walker, we were all up at the Stayner Community Center for quite a big meeting where we had a presentation from the people from Walker's, Dr. Williams, who's cited in the report that the clerk gave you, made a presentation that night, and we had a very good discussion. And in fact, a motion was put on the floor that night to move to 5-member council. Council of the day did not support it. And as a result, we now have this council, which is 9 members. Where there was some adjustment in the boundary, the ward boundary adjustments did happen. That is as a result of the population changes that have been happening across the township. Certainly our settlement areas are growing and continue to grow. And so part of our strategic plan is to review the direction that the community is going, the growth patterns within the township, the economic engines that are serving our community. That's all part of that strategic plan. So that's the first item that councillors use when they have to make a decision. At least that's what I do. The second item is you always have to ask the public, don't you? As a member of council, you want to talk to members of the public. And I believe this council has done that. We did the surveys. We had public meetings. You've all heard from members of the public. Certainly, Councillor Deneen, you just mentioned that in your comments, that the people you've spoken to who perhaps didn't do the survey. So our job is to hear from members of the public. We've done that. We have done the surveys. We've done we did a pretty good survey. In fact, I believe there was even a really great video that was put together by Kayla and a couple other staff members who were involved in that. I can't remember who, but anyway, so we've done a lot to try to engage the public and ask for their opinion. So as a councillor and a mayor, deputy mayor, you've got the strategic direction, you've heard from the public. And the third one is the most difficult one. And the third one is, how do you personally feel? You, as each councillor, have to make a decision. You've been elected to make a decision at this council. That's what you're responsible to do for the public. And Councillor Leishman, that's what you spoke to in your comments when you said, that's how I personally feel. And I appreciate that, because that is the key to being a good councillor, is to look at how you personally feel by balancing the strategic direction with the comments from the public, but how do you personally feel? And that's really good. So that's why we've had a longer than I'd like to see to make a decision, but we're there and we're here tonight making this decision. And that's why I believe option number 1 is the correct option to go for at this time, because that comes from the 3 things that I've laid out in my comments to you. And so I appreciate all of your input to that. So I'm going to go to the clerk. Madam Clerk, we need to call a motion on option, and then we'll go back to the original motion. Is that correct, Madam Clerk?
To your worship, actually, you have a mover and a seconder. Deputy Mayor Burton and Councillor Patterson have moved and seconded option 1. So at this moment, you can call for the vote, and then that would move forward. That would be no amendment or anything. That would be the motion moving forward.
All right, but the original motion is moved by Deputy Mayor Burton and Councillor McKechnie.
Correct. So the way that we were going to work the motion was that Burton and McKechnie moved and seconded, and then once council had a debate on both of the options, you could have gone back to Burton and McKechnie and advised which option they would both like to move. And at that point, we could have kept the same mover and seconder. So you've done it a little bit differently, but we'll make a notation in the minutes for that.
Deputy Mayor Burton, this is obviously confusing, isn't it? Apologize. All right. Members of council, do you have any questions of the motion that's now on the floor? I'm about to call for the vote. We all understand what we're voting for? Or against? All right, council, I'm going to be calling for the in favor vote first. All those in favor of option 1 as presented in the motion. Are there any opposed? And so I will declare that carried. Option 1 carries. Madam Clerk? Are we comfortable then that do we go back to the original motion or not?
There's no need to go back to the original motion. That was the original motion. No amendments were made. Option reports I know could be a little bit confusing, but we'll work on the procedure so everyone's good for the next time one comes up.
All right, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, members of council, and thank you, staff, for assisting with that. Just as a side note, yes, that you brought up the procedure issue there, Madam Clerk, and we do have a few items that we've discussed sort of just casually in our discussions with our clerk, that we are still looking at some procedure issues that need to be worked out. So perhaps we'll get that solved in the near future. All right, members of council, thank you. We're now going to move on to our bylaw section of the agenda. And we only have one bylaw, and it's bylaw number 21-69. It's the amend the fees and charges bylaw 17110, Schedule J. Recommendation be it resolved that bylaw 2169, being a bylaw to amend Schedule J of the fees and charges bylaw 17110, be presented and read a first, second, and third time, finally passed on the 12th day of July 2021. Can I have a mover and seconder on the bylaw, please? Mr. Broderick, Mr. Walker. Thank you. Any questions? I'll call the bylaw. All those in favor? And the bylaw carries. Thank you very much. Council, item 13, notice of motion or any new business? Anybody with any notice of motion? Yes, Councillor Patterson, go ahead. Hello? Yep, mute, unmute, mute, unmute. No, go ahead.
I'm going to use my privilege provided by the agenda to talk about a bit of new business. Just
sure. What do you got?
So we're as we are emerging. There's two things with regards to emerging from the pandemic, and some things have been halted, mostly by the pandemic. One of them is development, also being held up a little bit by our water and Stainer and wastewater in Creemore. So I personally would like to have an update of the developments in Clearview. Of course, my first interest is in the ward, and I have some active developments that are pending and actually held until the waste treatment plant solution is known. Public is aware of them, so I think it's of interest to them. I can speak on their behalf on that clearly. And I would like to know what's happening in Stainer as well. So while we don't want to task our planning department too much, but in the interest of all being on the same page, I'm sure there's been discussions going on with the developers. In fact, I know there is. And I would appreciate if we give consideration to having a development update at the next meeting. I don't think it requires a workshop or a special meeting, but if we could just run through and allows all of us to take note of what's changed and what's the same, and if there's any questions, we can prepare them ahead of time.
Hey, can I jump in here? Mr. Clerk, Mr. CAO and the clerk and Mara Burton, I believe you're still with us. If you could all join us for a second. Mr. CAO, do you think that you'd be able to work with the staff to prepare an update that could be given either in a verbal update or in a section on our next meeting in regards to development activity? Mr. CAO?
Yeah, certainly. We can give a general snapshot of where we are with our developers and some of the work that has to be completed for development to occur.
All right, Ms. Burton, would you be able to update us on some of the applications? I know that our webpage through clearview.ca/planning has a pretty good update, but I think if you could give us a bit of an update on the numbers of applications and or residential and or commercial operations that are sort of pending, would that be helpful, Madam or Ms. Burton?
Absolutely do that. We'll put something together for you for next council.
All right, Tom, is that comfortable for you?
Yeah, it's great. And I think all of us, I will say myself, I could send you in what my interests are right now in terms of some of the developments and just as a way of preparation. I'm comfortable with you boning up on it and getting ready for our questions, and we do it verbally. I'm not looking for a big presentation. The question and answer session would be fine with me. So it's more or less giving you advance notice. And if council wants to do it all, then we could cover it all across the township. So I appreciate that. I have one other thing, if that's.
All right, before you go on then, before you get to another topic, Ms. Burton, would you be able to, as part of your presentation to us, would you be able to update the development maps? I know we have a map that outlines all across the township where the different units, is that updated regularly, or is that something that we could maybe have?
They are updated regularly. If we're going to be for next council meeting, I'll have to see if we can get that done in time, because the council is, the agenda is, I'm just trying to think when our next agenda deadline, but we'll certainly endeavor to do our best.
Of course you will. You always do. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you, Mr. Clerk, and thank you, the director, and thank you, Ms. Clerk. Okay. Tom, you had something else?
Another quick one as we transition towards in-person meetings.
Yes.
And we're thinking about that. There are some good practices that came out of this session, and one of them has been public participation through our YouTube and through the Zoom, where people are finding it easier to either watch us for a limited time, their interest, or my sense is just from the questions and that we are getting more people tuning in. And it's also a reference. I know that some people can't catch the meeting, but they can watch it on YouTube. So I know we've had a long-standing decision to stream our meetings, but I'm wondering if we could have a discussion at the council in terms of what our best practice would be going forward in terms of keeping the YouTube model, and I would like an open discussion about having the use of Zoom for specific reasons, not just for casual convenience meetings, for councillors to participate and the public to participate via video, which seems to be a modern thing. So we don't have to debate it now. Just throw the idea out. That I would like some attention paid to the transition. I know the staff is thinking about it. I know you're thinking about it, but I'd like to have council's input as well. And if we have a plan, we can get the input from some of the people that I've talked to. So that's my two areas. And before we go into that, I'd like to mention my favorite three, which is these are pending, slightly old, not yet new business, our strat plan meeting, if we're going to do the budget planning meeting, the social housing meeting, and the OPP enforcement contract policing workshop as well. And the county workshop is involved in that social housing. So just keep us aware of what's coming, as well as some of the new business I mentioned.
Councillor Patterson, I can inform you and all members of council that I have reached out again to the County of Simcoe regarding the housing workshop that was promised to us pre-COVID, that I've discussed with the CAO about a pre-budget discussion, which we could host as a part of a council meeting, perhaps. That has not been scheduled at this time. And so, and as far as strategic plan, that will be happening in the spring of next year, which is when we'll be doing the strategic plan review. Every term we, as council, have been reviewing the strat plan, having a meeting to review it, ask for the public input if there's any changes, and then reaffirming it or making any amendments or changes to it. So that's yet to come next year. These things are underway.
I actually appreciate the strat plan, but I'm sorry, I used the term, the old term, the strategic budget planning meeting, which we normally try to do in the spring, and we haven't done it yet. That's what I was.
Well, if you recall the motion that you made, you made the motion to do the strategic budget meeting, and we did that. what we need to do is, if we need a motion to do a second version of that, or our annual meeting of that, then we'll need a motion and a procedure to change that. But I've preempted that, actually, Councillor Patterson, by going directly to the CAO and saying, are we going to have a meeting where we have a discussion with councillors about their budget expectations for 2022?
So that's coming up.
So that's coming up.
Good.
So it's not part of our procedures, correct, at this time. As the clerk Helmke said, we will be reviewing our procedural bylaw, and that will be something that is another great meeting that we have to have. And by the way, I haven't forgotten, we're still going to have the traffic meeting yet too, are we not?
I'll mention that. My sense is that that's happening.
It's all coming. It's the one thing about COVID is it has kind of complicated slowing down, getting things completed. And it's very frustrating, believe me, working at this desk, trying to get those meetings organized when there's a lot of complications into it. But it's also quite simple to call a meeting like this together, and join us all on a Zoom meeting. But to actually have the material prepared is a little more complicated, a little more work. So we're working this out.
I appreciate your interest, your efforts. I'm just stating my continued, I haven't lost interest in any of these topics.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else with any new business or anything you want to discuss? Good enough. We're going to move on. Thank you, members of council. Bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting. Recommendation be it resolved. Bylaw 2170. Being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the July 12, 2021 council meeting be presented and read a first, second, and third time, finally passed on the 12th day of July 2021. Can I have a mover and seconder on that bylaw? Councillor McKechnie, Councillor Deneen. And I'm prepared to call the bylaw. All those in favor? And the confirmatory bylaw passes. All right, the motion to adjourn. Deputy Mayor Burton, recommendation that the council meeting be adjourned at 7:06 p.m., seconded by Councillor McKechnie. And is there anything further? I'll call the motion. All those in favor? And the motion carries. Thank you, everyone. And it's been good to see you all again. And it's been a great summer so far. We'll see you all